G'day guys, welcome to Second Valley Caravan Park General Store. I'm Pete from Lovell Rigs, also known as That Rig Guy. You'll see my YouTube under That Rig Guy. We've got our website where we sell to public. All our gear is available here at the store here at Second Valley. So what we're going to talk about today is just the basics on your fishing. We're going to start off with setting up a rod. We'll then move through, walking through, going columns of water, where different areas of water that you fish, looking for structure, different types of rigs, and we're also going to go through and cover some of the knots. I'll be at Scotty here. All right, everyone say hello to Scotty. All right, he's my #1 rig tie. He's an absolute gun at this. So, and at the end we're going to be taking questions. So what we're going to start off first with is a simple rod setup. Now these here are our Lovell Sharp rods. I'm just going to grab our 1.6. These are available here for you to purchase if you want. So to start off, we'll talk about setting drag. So when we set drag, you want it just enough so that you can get there and just pull your line. If you set your drag too much, you can actually snap your rod if you got it too tight. Because what the rod is, it's an extension of your arm, and it's also a shock absorber as well. So here's a little question I'm going to put out to you guys. This rod here, is this set up for a right-handed fisherman or a left-handed fisherman? I've got a right-handed. Anyone else want to double up on that? Got left hand? Left, exactly. Because everybody who fishes, they fish with their right hand, they fish like this. The fishing rod is actually supposed to be an extension of your strongest arm. So that way you can control your fish and reel with your weaker hand. So I set mine up like this. You'll see me riding with my right hand, but I'm also left-handed with fishing, left-handed with a lot of stuff. I can't play golf without a left-handed putter. So yeah, I'm a bit weird. That's why I'm that rig guy. That's why I got into fishing. So we want to get there, we want to do that. We want to make sure that when we pull our line through, we bring it all the way through to the top. Make sure you get every eye. If you don't get every eye, you're not going to have that full support through your rod. I normally set up with a snap swivel at the end. That way we can get there and put our rigs on and off quite easily, so we don't have hooks flying around the car and that. When we take our gear off, I always put this not actually in the eye itself, but on the side of the rod. All right. The reason why we don't put it through the eye of the rod is because you can actually get there and damage the tips and the reels. Oh, sorry, the eyes. As soon as you damage them, what's going to happen is it's going to actually cut your line. And if you've got a nice big fish on, the last thing you want to do is lose it. Last year, I got there and lost a $100 lure because I didn't check the tips of my rods. I was out fishing for tuna off Warina, and yeah, I ended up losing shredding 80-pound line and losing a $100 lure. So that was an expensive trip to come home with nothing. What are we going on? All right. So we'll go on to our rig selection. We've got our 3 columns of water. All right, we've got our top, we've got our middle, we've got our bottom. So anything on the bottom, you're going to be looking at your salmon. They'll feed the bottom, flathead, flounder, leather jackets, whiting. They're our main target species that will hit the bottom stuff. Now you go to your middle layer, you're going to end up looking at salmon again. You'll get tommies, gar in that, and also snook in that area. Go back to the bottom, yeah, you're going to get snapper down there as well. Unfortunately, we can't keep snapper for another 2 years, or no, 2.5 years it is. Now, we'll go back to rods, because this lovely lady here has got a very perfect example of what not to do with a rod. So if you just come over here, may I steal your rod for a second? Mind you, this is on YouTube, going on YouTube.
Oh, come
right?
on.
See how we have our rod bent over like this? What you're doing now is you're putting a lot of pressure through all the strands of fiberglass or graphite or whatever your rod's made of. So what we want to do is we just want to loosen that up a bit. She's actually got it down here, which is great. So she's not putting it through the reel, and the drag set properly as well. So that's the only thing I can fault with that. So that's the way we want to keep our rods. Any other way, what we're going to do is we're going to actually damage our rod. And that's a very nice rod, by the way.
Thank you. Picked it myself.
Good pick. Very good pick. Thank you for that. Right, she did that deliberately. She brought that up just for me to get there and do that for. Okay. So yeah, back to our rig. So if we're going to be fishing for something on the bottom, we're going to want a bottom rig. The good one for that is the running sinker, and Scotty's going to tie one of those for me right now. And what you're going to see is Scotty's going to, with it when he ties this, where between the first swivel and the second swivel, at each side of that sinker, he's going to put beads on. Now, why are we putting beads either side of the sinker? Because what happens is when that sinker slams against your knots, it actually weakens your knots. A weak knot means lost fish. So if we can protect our knots by putting beads either side, then what's going to happen is we're going to have a better chance of keeping our fish. And he is a gun. He is an absolute legend at this. So on the bottom, whiting, we're going to want a smaller hook. I normally fish for the 6 for my whiting. Some people like a 4. I reckon it's a bit too big unless you're going out deep for the big King George. Flathead, normally a double hook setup. Now, in store, we have Outfox Fishing Supplies. It's new on the market, only available through Level Rigs. They actually do a specified flathead rig, which is really, really good. When you move up, we've also got my estuary rig as well. This is a single hook rig, and that's got 2 sinkers in it. So the reason why I've got 2 sinkers in this rig is if we go fishing down here where there's not much current flow, we're going to use the lighter sinker. When we go to somewhere like the Murray or where there's a high flow water, we're going to want the heavier sinker. And if it's going through water's running too heavy or too fast for that one, just throw this other one on. You've got 1.5 ounce sinkers there to get there and hold everything down. So a lot of when you fish, you want to try and fish as light as you possibly can in the weight wise, but you also want to be heavy enough to hold the bottom. If you're fishing too heavy, you're not going to feel the fish. If you're fishing too light and the water's running, it's just going to come straight out of the strike zone. Now, if we move up to the next column, now this is where we start using our unweighted baits for your salmon, kingies, things like that. A snook as well, they love an unweighted bait. So just gang hook, cast out, and just let it slowly go through the top column into the middle column, and you should be right in the strike zone. Just let it unweight and just let it swim around. We go to the upper column. This is where we're going to find our tommies, our gar, our mullet. We're going to get brim in that strike zone as well. We'll get down here at the jetty, there's swallowtail, there's trevally. They're all in that area as well. So that's where you're going to be wanting to use your float rigs. And depending on where they are, depends on the length of your line. I find the standard's probably about yay long is pretty good, and burley. You want to use burley. Now, I've just grabbed a bag here of Sharp Tackles Fishing Master Burley. That, to me, I reckon that's really, really good stuff. I know the guy who makes it. Him and myself actually designed our rods. So that's why they're a Lovell Sharp product. So Scotty's tying our rig there. As you can see, everything's measured. You've done that. Excellent. So you've done it. All right, so so you can see we've got the beads behind. It just stops that damaging of the knot. Biggest thing I've caught all day. Along with the water columns, another big thing we need to look at when we're fishing is structure. Fish love to hang around structure, whether it be a little shelf where it goes into a deep hole, or around jetties, rocks, bommies, bridges. There's so much structure. You go to the fresh, you're looking at fallen trees, reeds, all that type of thing. They hold fish because they hold bait fish. It's just a smorgasbord. So when we look for structure. We might not be able to see it on top, particularly in a estuary or the river. Just look for a little V in the water, and that will actually indicate that there's something underneath there. Like it could be just a little stick hanging up in the water, and that could mean that there's something nice and big down there. Go on, what's next? Retrieving over a snaggy bottom. This is vitally important. When we fish any area that we don't know, that's new, when you're winding your rod in, don't keep your tip down. Bring your tip up, wind up. The reason why we're keeping our tip up is what we're doing is we're keeping our sinker up off the bottom. And that's going to stop any snags. If we like this, it's going to run the sinker along the bottom, and if there's anything down there, it's going to get caught up on it. So you want to try and keep it up, save your rig, and save a bit on money in the way of and frustration. Because if there's nothing worse, if the fish are biting and you lose a rig, anywhere, depending on what rig you're using, 2 minutes to 5 minutes out of the water, and that could be enough just the fish to go off the bite too. So you want to try and keep that rod tip up. Now, Scotty's now doing for me a whiting pat. Yep. Okay, but what we're going to do is while he's doing that whiting pat, he'll do another one after this, and I'll talk about that rig. But once he's after that, but I've got him doing some knots for me on the big hook. So what we're going to talk about is our line selection. Me personally, I like to use 15-pound line for most of my stuff. The reason is I can go fish down here for Tommy's and Gar with it, and I can go the next day go to the Murray and fish with the same outfit. I don't need to keep changing my reels and that. When I'm using my lure rod, I'll get there and use 8-pound line with 6-pound braid. Some people say it's a bit heavy for that as well, but I'm on a walking stick, so I don't have the advantage of being able to chase a brim up and down the river. I like to be able to get there and just give it a bit more stick if I need to. So depending on what you're fishing for, you got to look at what you're going to use. Am I going to be fishing in high windy areas? If it's a yes, then you're better off using a mono, because when braid gets caught up in the wind, you're going to end up having to lose half your line by cutting it, or spending half the fishing trip untangling it. So in an area when you're off the boat or you're fishing off a jetty, braid's fine, braid's great. Throwing lures, they're great. But if there's a real windy area, you're better off going to a mono. And it also depends on your skill level as well. When you fish braid, it's always good to have a leader. Now, if you look at, I'll just grab this one this time. With this one here, you can see I've got my braid coming down, and then I've got it onto a leader. Now, braid's got no stretch at all. So I put a bit of leader on there, and that gives it a bit of stretch. So it's just 15-pound mono onto 15-pound braid. But I've got a little bit of stretch on there. So when you want that bit of stretch, so when it hits, it doesn't shock load everything. And if you shock load, you can actually snap your rod, jerk the rod out of your hand, all that type of thing. Plus, when you're tying with braid, it's a different type of knot, because braid will come undone very, very easily once it gets wet. If you don't have the right knot, and it can be difficult to ensure you get the right turns, the right twist, just to get the hold. So, Scotty, whereabouts are we up to, man?
I'm almost finished with this whiting pattern.
Almost finished with the whiting pat.
The last hook.
Okay, cool. So, do you have any questions so far at all? No? No? Okay. So, what we're going to get Scotty to do is we got Scotty going to get there, and he's going to use our small hook here. All right, a wonderful little small hook. He's going to demonstrate a couple of knots for you. I'm going to tell you what they're best used for. The knots we're going to cover is the blood knot, the snell knot, and also a T-loop, which is what he's tied with the whiting pat. So first of all, Scotty,
yep.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Scotty, you ready?
Yep.
Everyone want to see Scotty tie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Scotty. Let's do a T knot, Scotty. T-loop. So this is for putting a loop in your line. We can use this for tying squid jags, for model squid jags, we can use this, as we said, for paternoster rigs. So when we do a paternoster, we actually tie one of these loops in a line, we cut the loop and we just tie them on like so. With the whiting paternoster, as you can see, it actually covers 2 water columns. That one there covers the bottom, so if the whiting are feeding on the bottom, and then also if they just decide to come up a little bit. So it's actually shorter than your standard paternoster, but it's actually, I find, to be more effective. So this here is our T-knot.
Or loop knot, whatever you like.
Loop knot, T-knot. I'll grab that and take it for a show and tell. Yeah, take it, pass it around. So next one we're going to do a snell knot. So there's, yeah, you can put a hook on there, you can put your squid jag on there, you can actually put a sinker on there. So you, and so Scotty, he sees doing the snell. So what you do is they're great for what we call an octopus circle hook, where it's got the eye that bends back, or the bait holder where the eye hook sits forward. So we can do it like that, and that just gets there and holds it nice, and you can do an inline. So you do several hooks on the line using that knot. And after we've finished this, if there's anything you want shown, we're happy to show you as well and teach you. Now that's one of the popular knots for tying these inline knot, hooks. Now the one knot that you'll use a lot is the blood knot or the clinch knot. And these are used for tying your long shank hooks, your circle hooks, and all your swivels. It's so easy. So he's going to do 7 loop twists around there. He's going to go back through the eye.
That little loop by the eyelet.
Yeah.
So.
And then he's going to bring it back through the loop that he made going through the eye, and he's going to pull that tight. One thing we do when we're tying knots is we wet the knot. The reason why we wet the knot is heat and nylon doesn't work. So if you're just pulling it straight, you're causing friction. Friction generates heat. Heat and nylon, no good, so you're weakening it. So always get a bit of a moisten when you pull it tight. And you'll find that there is your most commonly used knot. So now Scotty's got one more rig to do, and that rig's called the pulley rig. Now the pulley rig that he's going to do is actually based off the British pulley rig. Now they use the pulley rig over there off the beach, and they use that for catching their cod and all that type of stuff. What happens is the hook threads back through an eye, and when you hook up, it pulls the sinker off the bottom, and all you're doing is fighting the fish. So if you're in a nice snaggy area, you hook up on the fish, instead of getting there and going, oh, I hope I don't hook up on the bottom and lose everything, it's up out the way. So all you're doing is fighting the fish. And that there is an Outfox fishing product. Lovell Rigs, we do another one, but though we actually make ours adjustable, where you can actually move your hook to different length along that line, to whether you want to fish the bottom or slightly up higher off the bottom. And as soon as it hooks in, right, so he's, and at the end, Scotty's going to pick some lucky person to give one of these rigs away to. Now, line colour. People say you need clear line, you need this line, you need that line. I've caught fish on yellow line, red line, I've caught them on clear line. So to me, I don't believe that the colour really makes a difference, yet weight does. If you've got a really heavy line, it's actually going to bring the bait down faster. It's going to hold further on the bottom, so they're not going to really want to be interested. If you're running it, like we run a 15 pound on most of our traces, anything with like your whiting paternoster here, the standard paternoster, we'll run that at a 20 pound, because every time you tie a knot into your line, you actually weaken that bit of line. So we've gone a bit heavier for that. When you're running a float line, we run 10 pound, and once again, it's because we're tying another knot within that system. So we have like a paternoster style. We have a hook here and that, so we've got to tie the loop knot in the middle. So we just up it a little bit to cover that. But if you're going to be fishing off here, you can fish off here unweighted quite easily with 8 pound line, 6 pound line, not a problem.
With no sinker.
No sinker, you can just cast out and it'll just go down. Yeah. Or you can get there and put a couple of split shots on there, just to add a little bit of weight, just take it down. So once again, target species also is another thing that determines line. I'm not going to go chasing 30 kilo kingfish with a 10 pound line, because we're looking 10 pound, we're looking around about 8 kilo. So unless you're really, really skilled and you've got a lot of time on your hands,
Take line.
yeah. So you don't want to lose that fish. So you want to have a bit of line strength on there. Mind you, I have caught 12 kilo snapper on 15 pound line, and 15 pound is, what's that? 15, it's about 13 kilo, I think. So yeah, 12 kilo snapper, they pull real hard. So yeah,
Pulling rig.
Yep.
Okay.
And so pull on that hook, picks up and goes down like that.
Very cool.
You also caught a 70.05 centimetre carp
On 10 pound line.
10 pound float rig.
Yeah. So yeah, I use my slide rig quite a lot, which is, I said, they're pretty much the same as that.
Just float stop
Yeah.
between the.
So if you take away the swivel, and it's just one continuous piece of line, and
Where the float stop would be.
and you can actually move that up and down, and yeah.
Same principle, but without the swivel.
Yeah.
Float stop.
And they work really well. I've caught on the slide rig, I've caught stingray, I've caught mulloway, I've caught callop. So it doesn't matter, and carp. So it doesn't really matter where you use it. It's good for all water. So yeah. So any questions? No? Are you guys staying here at the Caravan Park?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great place though.
Yeah. 6 years in a row now.
Yeah, we're down the second weekend of Feb. We're staying down here.
Oh, beautiful.
So we're going to be down the Friday, Saturday. So you'll see us down here fishing that weekend. So what date's that, Danny?
13-ish?
Yeah.
9th, 10th, which is.
The 5th, 5th, 10th, that's next weekend. And we're the weekend after.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be staying down here.
No,
So-
next Saturday's the 3rd.
So it's the 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're down here then. All these products here are available inside. We do have our hats as well. So we've got my beanie. All right. We've got the black cap, we've got the green cap, and we've also got our bucket caps. There is some caps here inside, but if you want to order beanies and that, you best get in contact through our website, which is www.lovelrigs.com.au. And once we get an order in, we'll get there and get some made up and sent out.
Yeah.
I do love the beanie.
Rods.
Very fashionable.
Rods.
The rods, okay. Rods here, $50 for the rod. So yeah, I've only got a limited supply left, but they are nice and light. They are good. Anyone got any questions? No? Well, thanks for attending. Enjoy your stay. Make sure you see Joe and yeah, and the guys inside. Grab a feed, grab a coffee. So yeah. And I'm Pete, or that rig guy, and you've just been schooled.
Thank you very much.
So.